What's up, guys? I just wanted to shoot a quick update video on the sump area as I made some changes today. You may have noticed in previous videos that the 40 breeder that was sitting right here, the one side of it was completely covered in silicone because, like an idiot, when I was installing it, I bent the bulkheads and cracked the glass and basically smothered it in silicone to keep it working, at least in the short term. And it worked, but there was a lot of salt creep building up, and I was not thinking like it was a good idea for the long term. So I replaced it with a different 40 breeder. I picked one up in a trade with a guy. So this is the new 40 breeder refugium that I just got done plumbing in. I had to make a couple of changes and sort of piece in some black flex pipe to make things connect to where it was, but everything ended up working out fine. If you've seen my other videos, you know the water flows from upstairs down and over into this 20-gallon tall, which I use for my water changes. I drilled a hole. This is actually an update too. I drilled a hole, ran some flexible hose, and it goes over into the sump pump. And eventually, when the basement is finished, that pipe will be behind the wall in the closet of the bedroom that's going down here. It's just, you know, we're under construction still. So that's easy. In order to do a water change, I just open those valves, the ones going vertically, close the valves going horizontally, which takes this part of the refugium sump offline, and then I just open this valve, drain out 20 gallons, pump 20 gallons back in, and I'm able to do a 20-gallon water change without lifting a bucket, which is pretty sweet. Then the water flows from in here into the refugium, which I just got rid of a ton of caulerpa. It was growing up onto the wall of the other 40 breeder, and I'm expecting this little ball to do the same thing. It grows really well in here. Under this light that I picked up on eBay that grows macroalgae like crazy. I haven't had a ton of luck with the mangroves, but the macroalgae grows nuts in here and does a really nice job. Then the water flows over down into what used to just be my sump, which is now just a piece of the process, and there's my Reef Octopus 202 Classic skimmer. The water flows over and down this pipe into the lowest sump, which sits down here. I just have a cover sitting on top there to try and keep some of the heat in, with a Jabo DCS 15,000 DCT, I'm sorry, 15,000 return pump, which I upgraded to just because the 9,000 wasn't enough to get the water back upstairs, and then the water comes up through that pipe into the manifold and then returns back upstairs where it goes back to the tank. So just a quick update on the sump area today. Really happy with how it came out. So far no leaks. Everything looks good. The overflow is working perfectly. Water is flowing. So reef project tackled. Alright, so we are obviously upstairs now. I gave you the quick tour of the upgrades to the sump area, so I thought I'd do a quick update on the upstairs tank. I was dealing with a little bit of an alkalinity spike from adding kalkwasser, trying to raise the pH, and the elk, which had been sitting around like 8.5 or so, shot up to a little bit over 10, and some of the corals did not love that, especially the Duncan coral. It went like a month without opening up, but it's looking better, not as good as it did before, but better. The water's a little cloudy because I did a 20-gallon water change, and I like to once every couple of weeks take the algae scraper and stir up the sand bed and then crank up the gyre to like 80 or 90% just to get the gunk, all of that detritus up out of the sand bed. It's one of the ways I am able to keep the sand bed pretty white and clean. I don't vacuum the sand bed very often, just maybe once. Oh, the T5s just went off. Once every couple of months or so. I also, and I updated my build thread. I added a couple of Reef Bright strips. Here, I'll try and get a shot of the lights. It's a little bright. So there's a 72-inch Reef Bright tech on this side and two 36-inch Reef Bright XHOs on that side. And in the 2 weeks since I added those, the colors of the corals, not just the visible color with the light, but the actual coral color has improved dramatically. Things like the purple in this bonsai has really come out. The Stellophras, which had paled out a lot with the alkalinity rise, have gotten their color back, which is nice, and a lot of new growth tips. All of the SPS just in the last couple of weeks has sort of shot out new tips on stuff that hadn't grown in a while as the alkalinity was rising. So I moved a few things around, and the tank is doing really well. Fish are fat and healthy. I haven't added any fish in a while. The clownfish, for whatever reason, just sit up here in these corners, never come down. You know, the only time they ever swim around is when I turn the gyre off. I almost wonder if it's too much flow for them. So they found these spots where they can just hang. And there's the other one. You can see this junk floating around in the water. The water's usually crystal clear. I do run a UV sterilizer and BRS Rocks 0.8 carbon, which keeps the water really clear. But aside from the lights and getting the alkalinity back, the tank is doing really well. The next project, now that I've got the basement, once we get the basement finished, that's sort of a major house project, but I would like to add, get rid of this little cabinet and add a tank in the corner here with the mangroves growing in the window, maybe something lower, like a little frag tank or a little rimless tank plumbed into the system. Just sort of tee off of the return line and tee into the drain lines. Have a little mangrove tank in the windows here that gets good sunlight. It's western New York. You can see it's snowing today. But I don't have there's no issues with sunlight coming into the tank. I actually enjoy it. I think the corals benefit from it. We have a couple of skylights in here too. So a couple times, depending on the season, we get sunlight through the skylights onto the tank, which is nice. Corals really respond well. So things are doing really well. That's sort of it for projects for right now. Just enjoy the tank. And then eventually plumb in that mangrove tank. But that's the update. That's the January update on the reef.